Hello, my name is Danielle. I will be speaking today about telepathy. I have always wondered about the phenomenon and so decided to research it. I'm curious to know if you believe in telepathy or not, and I have found some great facts that might make you a believer. Have you ever heard of the term brainwaves, as if people were transmitting some kind of signal that can be picked up by someone else? How would you feel if there were some truth to this? Do you believe in telepathy? The author I quote in this speech on July 29th from an article on the site Does Telepathy Exist in Humans at Canada.com, among many skeptics do not believe. The topic of telepathy is one of controversies, and studies based around it have heightened argument on the subject. It is an area of taboo, of what can be, and a topic that many scientists are debating. I researched info on parapsychology because it is related to telepathy. Parapsychology is the scientific study of unusual events. I found this information at Facts of Parapsychology, parapsych.org. I also found a statistic at ubuttonsforums.org that stated 50% of people actually believe in the paranormal, such as ESP or telepathy. This speech is about telepathy and whether or not it may exist. Though there are skeptics, there are also believers. Many credible sources claim its existence. I would like you to open your minds for a minute to the possibility of telepathy being real. Can you recall sensing something before it happened? Maybe you could sense when a family member was in trouble, or could sense who might be calling before picking up the phone. In the article, the author claims these examples to be surely telepathic, then refutes her claims, providing weak arguments to support her disbelief. She talks about one experiment conducted by a man she called Ryan in 1927. Allegedly, Ryan tested hundreds of people using cards. Each so-called ESP card consisted of one figure, either a square, a star, a cross, a circle, or three wavy lines. The cards were shuffled and subjects correctly attempt to guess the figure while being mentally sent. Through experiments, they found no subjects perform beyond chance, and so she concluded, and I quote, telepathy does not exist. However, many experiments have been flawed and dissected for faultiness. One scientist whose experiments received such conviction and skepticism was C. Hornerton. I researched this information at the site Gansville Experiments, Do They Prove Telepathy Exists, at scientistfrontiers.com. Hornerton's experiments were specifically designed to counter the critics of parapsychology, but was he able to do so? C. Hornerton, the chief of Gansville Experiments, felt telepathy would be best detected during sensory deprivation experiments. In actual experiments, the receiver and sender are placed in separate insulated cubicles. The sender is shown still photos or film clips and sent them telepathically to the receiver. Because of the great care Hornerton lavished in his research and positive successes, we cannot ignore his work. However, the critics pointed out flaws in his experiments and were not swayed. The stance of telepathy was unproven, which leads me to my next point. Is there a flawless experiment that can be conducted to prove telepathy? When doing my research, I found a website called Physicists Test Telepathy in Cheat-Proof Setting by Royce Rinsberger of the New York Times Magazine at urigeller.com. This was one of the most credible experiments conducted by scientists Russell Targ and Dr. Harold Puthoff at the Stanford Research Institution. The scientists conducted many experiments using a number of persons, including Uri Geller, a purported psychic. The scientists firmly reported that Mr. Geller and most people have the ability to send and receive information by some undefined perceptual modality. Much like the previous mentioned experiments, these tests were similarly conducted, except modified to supply the cheat-proof setting. Scientists said they seated Mr. Geller in a room with metal walls insulated from external sights and sounds and radio waves. Outside the room, scientists open a dictionary at random, pick a word that can be depicted graphically, and then draw the picture corresponding to the word. Geller, without seeing or knowing of the picture, is then asked to draw the same picture. The researchers said that Mr. Geller was not told who selected the picture or how it was selected. In 9 such experiments, Mr. Geller produced drawings of remarkable correspondence. Alongside the researchers, Geller's drawings were published in a scientific magazine called Nature. Russell Targ and scientist Dr. Puthoff concluded that Mr. Geller did indeed possess telepathic ability. Their claims and work were published in one of the most respected international journals and was the first representation of parapsychology for the magazine. Knowing of the controversy it would cause, the editor of the magazine wrote an editorial explaining that they had picked the report because it represented a legitimate attempt to verify The existence of a phenomenon scientists frequently debate in private. Phenomenons like these are happening all of the time and from all over the world. Scientist Mr. Targ said that he felt the phenomenon was not extrasensory at all, but depended on the unknown, seldom exercised sensory capability possessed by many, perhaps all persons. I found it interesting that the experiments I mentioned and that of the skeptic author were so much alike. Yet only some experiments have been able to pass the test of science. Scientists today expect further research will explain the phenomenon in scientific terms. Some believe we need to expand the horizons of science, and others believe we have supplied adequate research within existing scientific models. Either way, consequently, science is backing the theories of telepathy, and we are expanding the spectrum. You can't rely that every experiment will be sound, but then you can't dismiss the efforts made by many researchers and scientists and the facts surrounding telepathy. This brings me to some cold hard facts about the topic. Telepathy is described as mind-to-mind communication. It was coined by Frederick Myers in 1882, says author David Brownstein of The Physical Basis of ESP and Telepathy. There are different types of telepathy. Feeling telepathy, the sense of somebody's feeling; thought telepathy, reading of others' minds; and action telepathy, the sense seeing of others' activities. Psychokinesis is the ability of the mind to influence matter, space, time, or energy. All human beings possess an aura. Auras never rest, not even while we sleep. An aura goes into the flow of existence, says Brownstein, where it can be sensed by a person who exercises the faculty of ESP or telepathy. ESP is the foundation of telepathy. I also conducted an interview on July 29th at 3:45 p.m. to help me gain some of my own facts and answers surrounding telepathy. I interviewed Tracy Weiss of Norfolk, an RN and pediatric nurse. Her questionnaire drew me to the conclusion that general people are open-minded to the theories of telepathy, but they feel there should be more research. She was critical but also interested in the subject. If I had to compare my research to that of some skeptics, I would have to say telepathy holds bearing. At least half of us are believers, and we certainly can rely on science. After all, it is the basis of everything we know, and it is constantly changing and evolving. What might be the unknown today could be possible in the future. Open your mind to the possibility of telepathy being real. To do so will only allow for the expansion of science and knowledge. Such endeavors can be trying, but science is an uncharted. Such endeavors can be trying, but science is an uncharted endeavor all of its own, and one that can be revolutionary to the existence of human beings and evolution. Thank you for listening to me speak about telepathy.